Hello, everyone. Welcome to Epistemic, episode number 23, 2018 Year in Review. I'm your host, Reid Nicewonder, aka Cordial Curiosity, and I have my co-hosts today here, as usual, Anthony Magnabosco and Objectively Dan. What's up, guys?
Hello, fellas. What's up?
Hey, another great episode today.
I hope
Comes your way.
A year in review too, man.
Yeah.
There's a shitload to talk about.
A lot to talk about. So how's your past weeks been going? Since the last time we did this?
Oh, since the last time. I've been out. I've done a few more talks on the trail, and I've had some good chats, and I've been Discording. I've been putting in an Apple AirPod in my ear, and then live streaming the audio to the Discord server. So if you're not participating in that, I would highly recommend doing that. It's nice to have a few people to talk to as I'm waiting in between talks. And it's also cool to get people's feedback. Like, oh dude, like, why didn't you ask that question? And you can like listen to me pretty much in real time, kick myself for not having asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just kind of been busy getting ready for the holidays, Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had this guy on my show last week, Reid Nicewonder, total hack. You know,
Total hack.
Probably definitely the worst guest I've ever had on the show for sure.
I listened to two of the calls. I was driving to pick up some dinner, and then I lost the connection, but I didn't listen to the remaining calls. How did it go?
It was fun. We talked to some interesting people. I think I'm glad Reid was there. So what happened was I had arranged a call ahead of time from the same person that I got. I know someone who kind of knows some interesting people to call in, and he was the guy who got me to talk to that 9/11 truther guy, which was really cool. And we were anticipating someone that was going to call in about the Illuminati and asking about that. And I was like, Reid, I need your A game with me today, because I've never talked to anybody about that, and I need somebody who could prepare to, speak on something that's kind of out of our regular topics of conversation. And he ended up not calling, and I was a little disappointed about that. But besides that, we had some interesting calls about kind of our personal takes on, gosh, we talked about death. We talked about like kind of reincarnation, all kinds of stuff.
I was listening to that guy where I was thinking, so like if a meerkat is being born right now and it opens its eyes, it's taking on the identity, or that's somebody else. Like that was a human being that had died, is now. It was odd.
A little vague.
Yeah. That's what my dinosaur question was about. Like, so I could be, without knowing it, be a reincarnated dinosaur, or just something that was alive at one point and now is in my body.
But then the caller said no, because it's not actually reincarnation.
Yeah, he had said earlier that it wasn't reincarnation, but it was something else.
But that's confusing, because it's like, okay, but it's still your identity, but not really. Like, to me, that's reincarnation. Like one of the first things they always try to tell you when you have these conversations is define the terms, like define what you're talking about. And that whole conversation, I was struggling to keep up with what exactly he meant.
Was he a repeat caller? It seemed like you had known him.
Yes, so he was one of the first people that called into one of my proto shows, kind of one of my shows that I did before we went live every week. And so we kind of talked about this, basically the same topic, but we got a little more in depth this time. So I thought we would make some more progress. I think we kind of did, but I think what was really cool about that conversation is at the end of it, he did say, oh, you've made me think about some things. Like, I feel like you guys kind of challenged me a little bit. And that's what he walked away from. That was, oh, I got something out of it. I don't know if Reid or I got as much out of it, honestly. Like, it was just really hard to understand. But it was cool, though. It was definitely different from the usual stuff. So
I also thought that the split screen that you guys had was the crispest and the nicest like arrangement of co-hosts on your show that I've seen.
Yes, we recently fixed that up to make it look a little bit nicer on screen and stuff. And it helps that Reid has some pretty good equipment as well. I want to do some upgrades for the show, but maybe we can talk about that a little bit more in our kind of year of review thing that we're doing here.
Yeah, because I think what we want to do is talk about the things that we saw in 2018 related to SE that are worth noting, and then maybe end the second half of the show where we talk about things that we want to see in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I prepared a list of about 3 things that I saw in 2018, and you guys were going to do the same. Did you guys? Were you guys able to compare? Yeah, you have a list.
Yeah, let's hear you first, Anthony. You sound like you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The first thing that's on the top of my list that I thought happened in 2018 that's worth noting is that street epistemology, it seemed, tended to make some major inroads into different fill-in-the-blank religious communities. Scientology, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses. These are groups where people are leaving these religions and they're finding online communities. These online communities have discovered street epistemology. They've invited people on to talk about it. I've been on a couple of shows where I was with John Cedars with the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. You had Bruce Blankenship, I think, on your show. He's an ex-Mormon.
That's Bryce Blankenagel,
right.
But yes.
Okay, that was way off. Okay, I should have wrote his name down beforehand. And then I think
the Infants on Thrones podcast.
Yeah.
You just did another one.
Reid and I were on Infants on Thrones, which is a great podcast. They do a really good job in their production quality. Dan, I think you were on a show too for an ex-Mormon kind of podcast.
Yes,
that was cool. It was cool to see. In fact, I forgot to mention, there's a Muslim who what is his? I should have looked up his name. He was interviewed on the Jihadis podcast. I forget what the name of it is. Abdul Samir, I think, is his name. He was mentioning the benefits of street epistemology. So what is really cool is seeing that these little groups that are out there where people are leaving those specific religions are mentioning the benefits of street epistemology, and they're using it too, and then bringing people on to talk about it. So that was really cool. And I thought that was worth mentioning. Did you guys notice that as well?
For sure.
Yeah, I've definitely talked about it with more people, like you said, especially for me, it was the ex-Mormon community. I've gotten to know a lot more people in there who have a lot of people like Bryce and Colleen from the Mormon Happy Hour podcast have told me, like, yeah, they want to bring this to other ex-Mormons. They think it's a really good tool and stuff. So hopefully this next year, I want to work on integrating it more into other kinds of communities that haven't typically seen SE before, or at least not that much of it.
Mm-hmm. It was funny too, is like when 2018 started, it seemed like there was a really big interest from the secular Buddhist community to really blow up SE. And I didn't see that in that community, but I've seen it in all those other communities. Abdullah Samir is the guy that was interviewed with the Secular Jihadis podcast. He had mentioned the benefits of SE, and it's really cool to see even what it is called, Atheist Republic, which is a very large ex-Muslim community that's online. They are very interested in street epistemology and talking about it. So, hey, maybe we will start seeing content from people that are from those religions specifically. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see. That was the top of my list. I've got a couple others, but I'm kind of interested in hearing what you guys.
Let's do this. How about each of us go around each time and say our one until we all do 3. So I think we all have 3 things, right? Okay.
So
I'll go.
Rounds.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go next because I'm already talking.
But you might actually say something that I have on my list or read.
Maybe that's true too. I guess we could say that. But I mean, first thing, obviously, number 1 is I started Truth Wanted. I think that's kind of obvious, but it was a big deal for me anyway.
That wasn't on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, it was on Reid's list. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Like, so I see this as, there's been other kinds of call-in shows before, and I get the comparison, but I think now that I've done a solid 10 or so episodes now, if you're including some of the other episodes that we did in the pre-show that are on the channel now. And I think I'm finally starting to create this separate identity from these other shows, and people are finally getting that. Because at first it was a lot of the kinds of call-ins you see on other kinds of atheist shows, and now people are kind of saying, oh no, Dan kind of does things a little bit differently. The conversations are a little bit different, and it's more SE oriented. It's not always SE, but it's pretty SE oriented. And I think that's a really good introduction for people who want to see these conversations happen in real time, who like want to try this out themselves. They can just call in and see people do it, and see other people from other communities come in and try doing it too. I think what's really cool is I'm doing this thing where I get guests on every single week, and that's been a challenge sometimes scheduling people, but I always get people who are emailing me and saying, wow, that was so cool that you get to talk to these people. And I definitely want to get more people at least aware of SE through the show. I definitely want more SE people on the show for sure. But, you know, I'm open to anybody coming on. I'm open to introducing the method to all kinds of new audiences. So I hope this next year I continue to grow with the channel and stuff, and do more stuff with the ACA. As I was kind of mentioning earlier, I have some plans for upgrading the show. We weren't able to do a lot of showing clips on the show, and that's because of some technical problems on the ACA's end. I'm hoping we can fix some of that. And I also just, like I said, want to get more kinds of guests on, and definitely a different variety of callers. So I'm working with people who know some interesting people who can call in and do that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just been fun. It's been fun doing the show. A lot of work, but it's fun.
Yeah. I noticed I think I was watching the Atheist Experience, and somebody in the comments was commenting on a caller that was talking to either Matt or Don or somebody. And they were saying, this caller should be calling into Truth Wanted. Why are they calling into the Atheist Experience?
Yeah.
And I thought that was neat that people are maybe seeing these shows and maybe putting the callers in specific categories. I mean, like this is a call that maybe would have gone better if it had gone into your show. For example.
So I got an email this week, one of my favorite ones. They were asking about, because I have the Truth Wanted mugs, and they're asking if they could buy them yet. We don't have them for sale. We just got those two for promotional purposes, although I would like to get more merch next year. That's the thing that we want to try to do for the ACA. But he mentioned in kind of an aside paragraph, like, by the way, I've been listening to Atheist Experience for however many years, since I was like a teenager, but Truth Wanted is my new favorite show.
Wow.
You know, and that's people who, you know, who are watching this other stuff and obviously still like Matt, still like what Eric and Jamie and those other guys do. But now it's like, okay, now my show is up at the place with these guys. And in some cases, it's like, you know, even better in people's minds, which is great. I don't like, it's definitely not a competition. We all just have different audiences. Mm-hmm. And if I can cultivate an audience that people who, you know, want to see more of that can see more of that, then that's great. I love it. So
mm-hmm. As much as I love watching Matt do his thing, like I've kind of seen it. I kind of expect to hear what I'm going to hear in the experience calls, but Truth Wanted, it's like, you don't know what you're going to get. So
yeah.
That's interesting.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah. The fact that you've broadened out your topics that can be discussed on the show should make it more interesting for people. It kind of reminds me of like when you look at the different shows that the Atheist Community of Austin has, and how one show might appeal to somebody and the other ones don't, or whatever. It kind of reminds me of the different practitioners that are out there doing SE today, where somebody might be really drawn to Reid's style and not so much like the approach that I take, or vice versa. And the more people we have doing this, the broader the appeal. And I think that's kind of similar to what I'm seeing in the shows that the ACA is putting out. Yeah,
it's really cool. I'm glad that I have a platform to do my thing, and I'm going to keep doing it. So yeah, awesome. That's my point. Reid, you got one?
My one is there was a new show this year that came out, a generic SE type podcast talk show called the League of SE Reviewers, with Ty from Let's Chat, Ben from Seeds of Thought, and Linda from Super Curious. I think they've kind of overshadowed us now. I think they have a much better and more interesting show than even this.
Oh, hell yeah. I would agree with that. They're funny. Yeah. They keep it really interesting. Yeah, I don't know what else to add. They got like 10 shows under their belts too.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they put out a new show, it gets better and better. And
Very cool.
they seem to consistently do reviews of conversations too, which is something we started off doing, and we kind of, I don't know, we just stopped doing that.
Yeah, I'd like to bring that back a little bit, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, maybe we can just take clips rather than like I just uploaded a 51-minute conversation. That's probably not going to fly. But if we took a little snippet of it, it could be useful.
Yeah, maybe not like whole interviews, but maybe snippets from something that someone did that was new and interesting. We could comment on it. But yeah, big fan of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like their show. Okay, so I guess if we're going full circle, then mine is kind of related to the League of Esther reviewers, but a little bit more broad in that one thing that I noticed in 2018 was a big increase in the number of people producing SE related content. So you mentioned Ty from Let's Chat. We have Super Curious, Linda, Ben Diesel out of South Africa. We've got Eddie from Deep Discussions, Raul from Street Knowledge. And I would say there's probably maybe 5 or 10 other people that have uploaded 3 videos, 5 videos. They didn't get a lot of traction. We tried to add them to the playlist that we have so that those folks can get some more subscribers and that type of thing. But that was really neat. That was really neat seeing. I mean, I was excited when Reid started uploading his stuff, and I'm even more excited to see other people uploading content from around the world and the different approaches that they have and the experimentation that's going on and the feedback that I see at the bottom of my videos and their videos, where there's suggestions from not only the people watching, but other content creators, where we're giving feedback to each other. And I think that that's really great. That's valuable. And there is something that we have working on in 2019 that kind of is tied to that, but I'll save that to the end. But that was my second thing is seeing the boon of other content creators of SE stuff.
Yeah. So we need to find someone like I want one each, one from each continent at least, or from one major area of the globe. Like I want to see China. I want to see Australia, India. I would love to see India. Oh my God. That would be amazing. Hopefully.
Yeah. So I guess my second point is I've seen more responses to SE, both good and bad, this year than I did the previous year. It seems like there is, and the negative responses typically come from people who are religious and who are seeing this kind of method being used on other religious people, and kind of have comments or questions about that. There's been a few videos produced about SE from those kinds of camps. There's also been some blog posts and things like that. I think all of us have probably talked to a critic at some point, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter, and have kind of engaged with that. To me, I think, that's kind of to be expected. I think the more people know about it, the more people who aren't going to like it is also naturally going to come up. I haven't found the responses to the criticisms themselves. I haven't found in general to be very persuasive to me. And maybe that's because I'm already doing it and I'm really biased and I know the people who do this and I really like them and I think they have the best intentions. But that's one thing I think that comes up is like, oh, what are we really doing here? I think that it always comes down to that. Like, what is our real purpose? And some people just don't trust the motives of that, I guess. And there's some sort of, other agenda going on. And that's the kind of rhetoric I've seen this year.
I guess I'd have to look to see when we created the Critique Street Epistemology Facebook group. I think it was in 2018. I'm going to check that real quick. But yeah, we try to make a space for people to bring their criticisms forward because we want to air them out and address them.
Yeah.
And
even for things that I find, I'll post them there myself just to have them in one place.
Yeah. I remember. So we have a Facebook Messenger group for the various Facebook groups. So all the admins and moderators are in these different groups, and we will stumble across criticisms. And like Reid said, we'll post it. I think there was one criticism where it was just so weak. We're like, well, I don't really think an admin or a moderator needs to post this, but if a member wanted to post it, then we'd allow it. But it was just sort of, it was just kind of weak. When was this made? Let's see. When can you tell when a group was made? I don't know. I'm not able to find it.
Might have to scroll to the bottom, or I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a good group to go to. Criticisms, I think, for myself, carry more weight when it's coming from somebody that I respect. So like when Matt had some reservations about confidence scales and that type of thing, I took it a lot more seriously, and I wanted to like really understand what he was saying and then try to, correct any misunderstandings of it. But it seems like it seems like is kind of coming around and is talking in terms of confidence and reliability and that type of thing. But I really haven't seen a lot of criticisms lately of SE. But it kind of reminds me. I've been asked to give some talks on SE in 2019, and I think I'm going to give a talk on common misconceptions and misunderstandings about the method. I might actually make a talk out of that and then record that and put it on my channel. But lately, I haven't seen too many of it, and maybe I'm just in a bubble. But it seems like I'm seeing a lot of positive things about it.
I've seen more positive this latter half of the year than the first half of the year.
Yes.
I think that also is because I'm doing this show now too and stuff, and I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I really like the style you're doing" and stuff like that. So I'd say, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a holdover from last year, because I remember last year was when I first started to see a lot of the criticisms too pop up, and it might have been just a holdover. But I agree with you. I'm seeing more people who usually don't talk about it now, that are supportive of it than I have been in criticism of it. So
I think also in the last 6 months, I may have seen, I would say three or four theists acknowledge publicly that they're doing SE, that they're attempting to have conversations where there's a street epistemology component to it. That's encouraging to me. It may not mean that they completely understand or that they're doing it right, but the idea that they're attempting to do it and they're incorporating into their interactions, I think bodes well for this method.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it was February 3rd when the critique group was made.
Oh, good. Thank you for of this year, or of this year. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Who's next?
I think
that's you. Yeah.
Okay. So another thing I saw this year, I guess I'll just put in both of my convention visits. The first to the NanoCon, and then to American Atheist Convention. Those were pretty great. Got to sit at the table there and tell people about SE and watch Anthony do his thing with workshops and talks. It was really fun.
Mine is kind of related to that. So if we're going full circle,
mine's also kind of related to that. So
was it okay?
Yeah.
Well, I follow Reid, right? I can't remember the order. Was it me, you, and then Reid?
Yes.
Okay. So mine was kind of related to Reid's in that I feel like we significantly strengthened relationships between the SE community, the SE movement, with the established organizations that are out there. American Atheists, Recovering from Religion. My goodness. We have
Atheist Community of Austin.
The ACA. Yes, that's on my list here. And also the Clergy Project. There was an individual, the president of the Clergy Project, came through San Antonio in 2018 and gave a talk. And I spent some time with him, and he ended up posting about SE in the closed forum that they have, and it sparked a really good discussion. So I think a lot of the established organizations that are out there are aware of this approach and what we're doing. They seem extremely supportive of it, and that was really encouraging to see. And it, like Rita mentioned, seeing people lining up for talks or workshops on this, whether it was NanoCon or the American Atheist Convention or even QEDCon, was really exciting to see. There's a hunger, I think, for better conversations, and I think people are starting to look at SE as like, this might be the tool that could help us get there.
Yeah. So me to add on to that, I also went to American Atheists with you guys, but I also got to go to the Secular Student Alliance conference this year and do my talk there. And I'm happy about that because I feel like that's another organization that we have reached, but also another segment of the population there, kind of the students, kind of college people who want to use this on their campuses and stuff. I feel like I was able to reach, and I've made some good contacts from that. I've gotten some emails from people too saying they want to know more about that. And now I have a recorded lecture on that, on how to do it. I know I wasn't the first person to do a street epistemology talk there at SSACon. There was somebody else that did it a few years before I did. But allegedly mine was better. But also, just to remind you guys, like my talk was the most popular workshop at the conference, which was really cool. Not because to stroke my ego or anything. I don't think it was because of me. I think it's because people are really interested in the method itself.
Yeah.
People want to know more about it. So I was very pleased with that. And I'd love to do more stuff with the SSA later on, if I can. I'd love to go back next year and speak about it if they invite me. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot the SSA, mentioning them when I was mentioning all those organizations, because I think, yeah, especially you going there and giving that talk to their national convention was huge. And I think the one next year is going to be in California, which might be over in Reed's area. I think maybe the Los Angeles area. I should say this before I forget. If there's anyone listening to this broadcast and you're thinking about going to any convention related to skepticism, atheism, free thinkers, humanist organizations, etc., you might want to reach out to the organizers and ask if there's going to be some sort of workshop or representation about street epistemology. If you think it's important and you think those folks could benefit from it, that would carry more weight than me sending an email saying, hey, I'm interested in talking to your group. It would be better to have it come, I think, from people who are planning to attend those events and demonstrate to them that this is a desire, this is a want of yours.
For sure. Is it back on me again, or who?
Yes, I believe you're the last one.
My last thing was your show, Truth Wanted. So I think we talked about that.
Yay! It's a good show.
I'm excited to see where you take it.
Yeah, I got to compliment the ACA here because, you know, it's not just me doing this show. I'm doing it with a group of people who are volunteering their time every week to help make it happen. And it's, you know, like there are a few other call-in shows, but not everybody has the resources to do that, to have the technology to even do call-ins and stuff like that. So I'm taking the responsibility really seriously. They've given me pretty much full direction on the show, which is great because I want to do more with it. I want to expand, but it helps to know what makes it good and what people want to see. So, you know, I have the email address now. It's truth@atheist-community.org. And if you really like the show, I want to hear why you like it and stuff so that I can improve it better, because I did this to promote SE and to promote this kind of style of talking to people in general. And I think it's going to benefit if the community actually contributes their thoughts to the show so I can make it better. And let me know who you want to see on the show as well. I have a few cool guests I plan on coming up pretty soon. One of them is kind of going to be the biggest name I've had so far, and I won't mention it yet, but it's going to be really fun. One quick plug I also want to make as well, because we're talking about Truth Wanted and stuff. Next Sunday, so this Sunday actually, Genetically Modified Skeptic, who's been on my show before, and some of you probably watch him, is having a special 100,000 subscriber live stream event down at the ACA, and I'm going to be co-hosting that event with him. So if you want to see me there, you want to see more of my face and his face, and more of this style conversation and good times, you should definitely check that out. It's going to be at 6:30 Central Time this Sunday, the same studio that we do Truth Wanted and Atheist Experience and all that. And so definitely
you're gonna is he gonna log into his YouTube channel and he's gonna broadcast using their hardware through
their hardware, through the HCA hardware. So it's gonna be really cool. Gonna have a little bit of celebration, a little bit of party. There's gonna be some special guests coming on the stream as well. We're hoping to get Cosmic Skeptic on, Shannon Q, some other people. So look forward to that. It's going to be neat.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That was
Also,
probably,
we also
if I
want to
can
talk
real
about-
quick, when
go-
you mentioned
go ahead.
genetically modified skeptic, it made me think of other people. So this is another thing that I noticed in 2018 was other channels like Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic, which is a great channel, or like John Cedars. I think he even went out at one point to do SE with Cosmic Skeptic. I don't know if they ever did video of it or what, but they certainly tweeted about it. It's neat to see other content creators that don't necessarily do SE all the time. They see the value in it, and they'll occasionally mention it in a video that they do.
Yeah, it is neat. It is super neat. I think we're going to see more of that this next year. I really do.
Yeah. Okay. Should we talk about what we want to see in 2019, or did you have anything more?
I also want to talk about goals. I've got nothing else in terms of recap. Cool. So I've kind of got two sections for goals, like just one for SE in general and another one for just me specifically. That's my first thing about SE in general is seeing more channels. I'd love to see more people going out and creating more channels and doing more interviews, and just seeing the community grow.
I guess related to that, I guess I'll talk about a personal goal that I have. I'm planning. I met a guy. In fact, I was just at a party, like a holiday party. We call it, what do we call it? The solstice party here in San Antonio. And a professor at the local university was the speaker, but I've talked to him before. He's going to be teaching a class. I think the name of his class is God Minus, but he's a philosophy professor. And I'll be auditing his class, which will allow me to come on campus. And I think I'm going to start doing some talks back with university students. For the past 2-3 years, maybe even, I've been on a hiking trail talking to some older people. And a lot of people have been asking me to go back to talk to college students. So I think in the spring of 2019, that's where I'll be. I'll probably have a dual camera setup. And I'm going to try to initiate talks with people who might agree to doing multiple conversations, like saying, I'm looking to have a talk with a person. I'll set a timer for 5 minutes here, but I'm really looking for somebody that would be willing to commit to having 3 conversations at minimum. So we can see the progression of a actual belief over the course of a semester of school or something. It doesn't have to be like 3 days in a row or 3 weeks in a row, but just over the course of the semester, I'd like to meet with you at least 3 times. So if you see me out here, would you make a commitment to having a follow-up conversation with me 3 times, and seeing if I could do that, because that's something that I've always wanted to do. And I think that there's a hunger, we up to these one-off talks, and people are like, did you ever run into them again? I wonder what would happen if you had a second talk, that type of stuff. I want to actively try to make those things happen. And I think by going to that venue and stating it up front, I might be actually able to make that happen. That's one of my personal goals.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah. So goals for me, I kind of already said it. I want to make the show better. That's as far as doing stuff in the community, right? That's kind of my big focus. I also want to do more conference stuff. One thing that's cool with the ACA is that they're willing to give me a certain budget for me to go and do other conference stuff as representing them and representing Truth Wanted. So one conference I know that I'll be attending this next year is the Faithless Forum, and that'll be in April. And I'm told that I'm going to be able to be on at least 1 or 2 panels for that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'd love to do like American Atheists again. I think would be fun. The SSA conference, I think would be fun. I don't have any definite plans to do that right now. I just finished college like yesterday. I just did my last final yesterday, so I'm kind of figuring that stuff out as well, figuring out my living situation and my income situation, all that. So I really don't want to make too many plans into the future until I get that stuff squared away first. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I really do love doing the conference stuff, though. It is so fun, and I'd love to do at least as many as I did this year, if not more. So
that's cool that the ACA would back that too, cover your expenses.
Yeah. So it's a shared budget with some other shows and stuff. So I would probably be going with them, like with Talk Heathen guys or AXP people, and we'd all go together. If I'm representing them, like if that's the trip that we're gonna go on. But yeah. It'd be cool.
Do they only draw that much? I guess maybe you don't have to answer this, but do they only pay for that from funds that go free to your show, or do they pull out of the group?
So it's not exclusively for my show, because I wouldn't be able to do it if it was. I don't make as much from the Patreon stuff.
This would be a good opportunity to plug your Patreon. Either
right.
way.
I do have a Patreon. You should check it out. And I always tell people, like, $0 from that Patreon goes to me. I don't take any of that. It wouldn't be fair if I did, because so many people help make the show happen, and I'm just one part. But that money does go to stuff like conference budgets and stuff for me to use for speaking events and stuff like that. So in a way, it does kind of pay back to me for the stuff that we're doing for the show. And of course, it's helping making the show better by getting equipment and doing all the stuff that needs to happen to make a show run. So yeah, it doesn't come exclusively from my Patreon, thank goodness. But I hope to see the Patreon grow more too. We're about last time I checked, we're about $21 per creation, which isn't bad for a show that just started a few months ago. So yeah, I think it's pretty good.
That'll go up.
Awesome. Is it back to me again, or who's it next?
I think that's it.
Okay.
I think we did our goals. So
I've got more goals.
I've got more goals.
You got more goals. Okay, go for it. I did mine too. I picked those two, but yeah.
My next goal is the video editing service. A group of us are trying to get together and do, so people can, if they don't have the time to start their own channel or edit their videos, if they can find a camera or some type of microphone and go out and do some interviews themselves, they can upload that footage, and there can be this group of people that will review the interview and edit the video if it's good enough, and if it is good enough, it'll end up on this channel, the Street Epistemology YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm really eager to announce that, like post details on how people can go about doing that. Like the first of the year, I think we'll probably do. But yeah, we've assembled, I think, 4 or 5 content creators that will be responsible for evaluating the submissions to see, is this a good example of SE? Is it worth editing and uploading? But yeah, if you're sort of been on the fence about like recording a conversation, but what's been holding you back is the editing and the promotion of it, then we have people willing to take that off your hands. We want to see more content from people. That actually was one of my goals here too, was inspiring new content creators. And I think it ties into that project that Reid just mentioned. We want other people to create these exchanges, upload them for us to edit, and we'll promote the heck out of it. And then you're done. You don't even have to do anything else. I think that'd be neat.
That'll be really good.
Let's see. One of my other goals here I have is, I think we've fairly saturated the atheist and skeptic communities because of the going to the QED thing, and maybe what's next. And maybe I'm parsing this, like I'm splitting this pie like really closely here. But there's a humanist community that sometimes they don't necessarily identify as atheist or skeptic, and for one reason or the other. But I did an interview with Bart Campolo a few months ago, and Dan, I think you met him at an SSA conference, and you put him in touch with me, which is great. And I want to keep that going. So there's an American Humanist Association conference coming up in 2019. They were just asking for speakers, and I submitted a form, which hopefully went through and hopefully gets received and hopefully gets approved. I would love to introduce street epistemology to humanists, because I think helping others reflect on their beliefs and possibly lower their confidence on things that aren't true could be one of the most human things that we can do. So I'm hoping that I can introduce SE to that group. Another thing that I was doing, I've been reaching out to various groups like Recovering from Religion and the AHA, as well as CFI, to see if I could write some blog posts about street epistemology for them. So there are a lot of people who are members of those groups that just go to that webpage, or they follow them on Twitter or Facebook, and they don't really go to the ACA or check videos out on YouTube. So I want to write some articles for them to introduce them to these concepts and broaden SE out. So I plan on doing that, I don't know, first, second quarter of this coming year. And I guess as a wish, this is maybe like my final goal or wish, but my gosh, what's it going to take to finally get on like a Sam Harris's radar or a Joe Rogan? You know, every time I turn on those, not every time, but when I turn on those shows, when I'm watching clips, time and time again, they mention the importance of effective dialogue and how can we have better conversations, and nobody's listening to each other, and long formats are really the way to go. It's like, how are they not aware of street epistemology or talking about it or bringing somebody on to talk about it? So I would love to make some inroads into, at the very least, having them mention it or do some sort of episode on it, or refer to a video, or even bring somebody on that can speak to it. That's what I would like to see in 2019, and I hope that it happens.
I was actually just I saw Sam Harris last night at the premiere of his new documentary, Islam and the Future of Tolerance. I saw that last night. It was really great. And he was there, and Eric Weinstein was there. So I'd love for them. They're going to be doing some talks, and like a whole series of talks. So hopefully they, like, people who go to those things, like, ask questions and maybe put another bug in their ear about SE.
Maybe that's what we need to do, is just be one of the first ones to rush the microphone, get your question ready, and ask them, just keep dropping the word street epistemology to them. Ask them if they're aware of it, what they've heard of it, what they think of it. Why aren't you talking about it? Do you not understand the benefits that this seems to be having? I think would be great. And I think Brett Weinstein moved to Portland, which is where Bogosian lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there might be some opportunities there for cross promotion, and maybe eventually get on Sam's radar or whatever.
For sure. Another goal is getting the official organization up and running.
That was also, that's my goal.
Donate.
That'll be huge. I want to update the website. The SE website needs to be updated. It's very secure, but I think we can do a lot to make it look nicer and present the best information related to SE quickly. Like, a lot of it's buried and it's not really laid out very well. So updating the website's one thing, but yes, finally getting the organization established, a 501c3, so we can start doing some fundraising. And like Dan was mentioning, if he wants to do a trip, we can have some funds to pay for that and guide it, give people money to give talks on this stuff, cover their airfare, cover their hotel, maybe buy some swag to hand out at these events, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. I'd also love to have some more experts on this show, just to interview and talk to them, psychologists or philosophy people. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see too. But that's pretty much all I have for. I mean, we got a lot on our plates, and not only putting out new content, keeping it fresh, but trying to keep the momentum going and get people more aware of this and talking about it. I think is where we're heading. The future looks bright for SE.
Blue skies. Blue skies.
Blue skies.
Loving it. And then I think there's maybe 15 or so people watching. If anybody else in the chat has any questions or any potential goals, feel free to put them in the chat. But this has been great.
This has been great. And I'm going to tease this. Don't give this away, guys, but there is an initiative to bring other people who are creating SE content, give them a bigger megaphone. We're working with somebody who has a very broad reach, who's interested in talking about the growth of SE. And I think it'll be a good opportunity for people who are conducting SE on a regular basis to get out there more and get recognized for the hard work that they're putting into this. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
Cool. Neat.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thanks everyone for watching. I hope we have a good rest of the year. Happy holidays and all that. And very great. Thanks you guys for chatting. This is cool.
I'm really glad that we did this. Maybe we should make this a thing at the end of every year. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I like this. But happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Bye.